So I'm just gonna take a minute here to talk about interviews. Interviews are one of those things that on the outside, it always seems like anyone could do it and it's really easy. But then you get to actually doing interviews and you realize like, this isn't easy at all. This is really difficult. And this is from my personal experience. Many years ago, I had to do some research and had to do interviews for a paper that I had to write. And I thought anyone could do interviews, I'll do that. And then I started doing the interviews and I realized I suck. And the reason is for one, you're not really well prepared. And two, it's really hard to not guide customers into the answers that you want them to give you. And so here's just a few tips about doing interviews that will hopefully prepare you so when you have to do interviews for anything in the future, you can get better results. So the first step is starting out really broad questions, very easy questions. Whenever you're doing an interview, people are always uncomfortable. So the first questions have to be things that are very open-ended, very simple, very easy for them to answer that don't feel very in-depth. And as you go forward, you can become more and more personal as they become more comfortable. Once they become comfortable and time passes, then you can get more specific in your questions and really start to dig down. And one of the ways to do this is what's called funneling. So you start out with very broad questions in the beginning, and as you go, they get narrower and narrowed down. One of the ways that you can improve your funneling is using a tool called laddering. What laddering is like using the question why. You sound like a 4-year-old child whenever you use it, but it works. You just kind of end every single time they're done talking, you say, why, why, why? And it forces the person to keep talking more and more and more until you can actually get deep enough to get the answer you're really looking for. So there are a few tips when interviewing. Number one, listen. Your job isn't to talk. Your job is to listen. I think there are two good people that are on TV that I can compare them to. Well, one of them's not on TV anymore. Tyra Banks doesn't listen. Jimmy Fallon doesn't listen. If you listen to Ellen, she listens. There's a huge difference when you watch how people who are really good at interviewing versus people that are not. People who are good at interviewing, they ask one question, they sit back and they listen to the other person tell their stories. And they keep this story going with just facial features, like nonverbal actions type of thing. They smile, they laugh, ooh, ahs. People who are poor at interviews, they always jump in and try to tell their own flipping story. It's not about you, it's about the other person. Don't tell your story, let them tell their story. That's what you always have to remember. When you're interviewing, it's all about them, it's not about you. You're not at a bar having a chat with a friend. You're interviewing them, you're trying to gain knowledge. You're not moving the story along. You're listening to everything they have to say. The second one is body language. Body language is key. You need to seem interested, lean forward, don't slouch. Make them feel at home, make them feel comfortable. And the last one's always have your questions ready before the interview. Like I said, I try to go to interviews with some very basic questions, but you need to have lots of them and have a plan. Actually have a game plan going into it so that you know where it's going. You actually can guide them through a way so you don't kind of get that dry spot, so what's gonna be next? And so that you can get the proper information, because if you miss it, you can't call them and say, hey, can I ask you a few more questions? It doesn't work that way. So interviews are one of those things that are really difficult, but if you prepare well, you can do well at it. And they are a really big part of marketing research, of understanding what your customers want. So you can observe them, you can watch them, you can get all the analytics, but really the only way to understand what's inside their minds is through interviews. If you get all three of those together, that's when you can get really well-rounded research to become successful in the future.